we have Fredrik Heiding, excuse me. He is a Harvard researcher, and he is presenting his research again, a very hot topic this year, devising and detecting phishing, large language models, GPT-3, GPT-4, versus smaller human models like V-Triad and generic emails. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, so let's. The general consensus is that phishing is going to get scarier with AI and these LLMs. It is going to supercharge the ability of these people to create phishing lures in various languages and pass sort of your sniff test. Right. Are you seeing that? Are LLMs applied to phishing? Are they really supercharging them, or where are we?
Yeah, they are.
How are they doing that?
So the main thing that LLMs do is that they're really good at creating content that appears to be realistic. And that's exactly what's beneficial for phishing, right? It's not necessarily legit content, but it appears realistic. So phishing emails they're getting really, really good. And that's one thing. The quality is increased significantly by using large language models compared to sort of arbitrary phishing emails. They're not as good as specific human methods, like these really, really good expert models. They're not that good yet. But they're way better than the sort of arbitrary normal phishing email, and they're also easier to create. It takes a couple of seconds to make it, and we did a bunch of tests with this, and it's super easy to create, and the quality is really, really high. So yeah, they basically increase in every way possible.
And so when we're talking about these ChatGPT and GPT-3 versus GPT-4, those are, initially it seemed that they were getting massively better each increment. But I noticed that the last iteration, it sort of wasn't making as quick of gains in its learning models. Are you seeing that? What is happening in the evolution of these models?
So for me, the interesting thing, and the thing we work on right now too, is that make a specific language model for phishing. You can say that you weight the models. So large language models are very general. You can ask them anything because they're trained on massive data set. You can take one of these models and make them specific. So you add a lot of phishing data to them. They get really, really good at just doing phishing. And by doing this, which we're doing right now, I believe that you can increase the quality of incredible amounts. So
what data are you feeding into these models to increase?
So there are data sets. We are using Cambridge cybercrime data sets from the University of Cambridge. They have a massive data set of available phishing emails. And we also want to use industrial real-life phishing data. So we're trying to collaborate with a bunch of companies for that as well.
And so you went in through your work and you were using these models to create phishing lures?
Yeah, basically a large phishing model.
And so how were those GPT-4s, how were those doing? And I'm not V-Triad generic, and generic emails. Tell me the distinction between the two and how they perform.
Yeah, let me brief you a bit about that. So the current project, what we did is we compared the language models versus the human models. And one human model for phishing is called the V-Triad. So it's a manual model. It's not automatic at all. It's only trained on phishing data. So a language model is trained on any type of data. It's super, super general. A human phishing model, it can't tell you how to bake cookies. It can only tell you how to make phishing emails. And so it's very, very specific, and it's a set of guidelines, you can say. This model tells you, if you want to make a phishing email, follow step 1, 2, 3. And you can follow them, but still, you have to do it yourself. You have to be a good English speaker, for example. You have to know your target. You have to know a lot of things. So there's a human model for creating phishing email. It's very powerful, but it's also a little bit difficult. It's time-consuming.
Mm-hmm. Tedious.
It's tedious. The language model, it's super, super simple. You don't need to speak good English. You even don't need to speak English, because you can write a query in Swedish or German and write an English phishing email doing this. So it's way easier, but it's a little bit less specific.
So explain to me how, industrial data, how does that translate into good phishing lures? I mean, can the models, like the statistical analysis, are they ingesting that as well, or are they just doing a survey of the language available in that model?
Yeah, and that's where it gets really cool, actually. And what the V-Try does, it's analyzed a lot of human psychology, like it's handcrafted by people to see, how does our brain work? Because phishing is it exploits the heuristics in our brain. We have a lot of shortcuts in our brain that makes us do things that are not ideal. And if you take these heuristics, that psychology, into the models, then it gets really interesting. That's where you can have, for example, industrial data or academic data of thousands and thousands of successful phishing emails. Then you can start to learn patterns. And what we can do after that is we can sort of customize this to everyone. Because what we saw in our results is the same phishing email might trick you, but not me. And we talked to people and we said, hey, why did you fall for this phishing email? Why did you not fall? And some people said, hey, I pressed this email because it was offering a gift card. I really wanted it. It was a good offer. And other people said, hey, there was a free gift card, and I'm always suspicious of that. So there's not a one-size-fits-all, and that's where language models gets really, really interesting. Because what we're doing now is we're using this to customize both cyber training and phishing attacks. So you can see based on your profile, and for the industrial perspective, you want to know how to defend your employees, right? What you can do with our new model is you can see based on this employee, they should receive this amount of training. You don't need to give them 2 hours of arbitrary phishing training. They just need to learn these few small things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big deal.
That's
because,
powerful. Yeah, that's a big deal.
The training is such a huge aspect of trying to reach people, but you're able to pinpoint where to reach them
That's the
and
thing.
when.
We pinpoint the weakest link, basically.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, does it work on the flip side? Can we then apply these models as filters to flag potential phishing emails coming across the transom? Does the reverse work?
Yeah, we can too, and we also did that. So there are a lot of spam filters today, and they're pretty good. But what language models can do, they're non-binary. So a spam filter say yes or no. It's malicious or not malicious. A language model tells you human-like output. So it doesn't just say this email is spam. It says, hey, this email is suspicious, because it asks you to press a link to receive a gift card. But it talks with you. And what we found in our research is that human likes to talk with a human. Even if it's not a real human, even if it's a machine, but if it gives you output that appears human-like, people follow it much more. So you can see, you can ask, hey, I really want this gift card. Can I press the link? And we found that some models are really good at saying, you shouldn't press this link, but if you really want the gift card, try to go to the web page of this company and see if the offer is legit. And if you don't find it there, send an email to their contact page. Because it's so much more advanced than...
And real time.
It's
impacting your behavior at that moment.
Yeah. So it's really cool. So you can definitely use it to help people avoid getting phished.
So this tool is out now?
So you can use the current models. They're out, like GPT and Claude and all these things. Our specific model is in a beta stage. We actually have a link. I'm happy to sort of share that with subscribers where they can beta test. So we do these tests with like some governmental agencies and companies. So we're developing our model right now, and we're happy to take in more sort of people who want to try this out and be part of it.
What do you hope is sort of the next step of this? Where will this evolve? I mean, you are addressing a very critical fear that a lot of people have. What's the next iteration?
So my iteration, in a high level, my iteration is sort of ensure that we stay ahead of the attackers, because phishing attacks are going to be way better, easier to launch, more numerous. So my hope is to do this to help companies train their employees better, because so many organizations reach out to me and say, we have a problem with our cybersecurity training. People think it's kind of tedious, it's not fun, you have to sit through all these hours of training. And I agree, it's not so good.
It's not fun.
And I want to help them improve that.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you again for sharing your very interesting research with us. There's certainly some exciting stuff going on at Harvard. Do you want to tell our audience maybe where they can learn more about your tool or maybe access the beta version?
Yeah, that would be awesome. So I think the easiest thing is just to write me either my email, perhaps I can share it somehow, or just on LinkedIn, Fredrik Heiding on my name. I think that would be the easiest step right now. And we have like a survey link, so if I somehow can share it with them, I'm happy to do that. But just contact me.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much again. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.